folks, welcome back to the Sloppy Lab. We have a fun match today. This is an NKFL 17 match between division winners JDG314 and Dick Roland. Pretty sure I have that right. And at least the division winner part. I know that certainly JDG314 won their division. And this is a match to see who will progress to receive a KFPL qualifier. So this is a Nordic Key Forge League match amongst folks who've done very well during the regular season to see who will walk away with a coveted KFPL invite as a result of their efforts in the league. And I'm receiving word that they've just made their deck selections. Banning's done, and I apologize, folks. I don't have tons of background to dig into on this one, though I do know JDG's decks fairly well. We'll be seeing Dick Roland's decks for the first time together here. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. I know JDG has some of my absolute favorite decks in the game in this kind of top Archon category. So we'll see. Now, Dick Roland, funny story. I have it was a running joke with myself mostly that whenever I get a ping for a DOK notification for a deck that I want to potentially purchase, odds are very good that Dick Roland is eyeing it as well and may have even picked it up before I've had a chance to. So they have a very spicy lineup. Not sure exactly what is included in it. But I'm certain that we'll see some high-quality decks and certainly high-quality players. Okay, I'm seeing word that it is up. I don't see the game here yet, so I may need to get a link. Okay, not actually made yet, but preemptively I do have the password. Okay, it is very secret and hard to guess. So there you have it. Okay, both players in the game selections have been made. I do see the decks that have been banned. JDG's Sagacious Unseen Zukaquip has been banned. Very, very potent Coda Rush deck. And also Sultan the Bird Ying. So we won't see either of those from JDG this game. Now, what deck are we seeing? Sultan Laurent. Okay, very cool. We've seen JDG play this deck before on this stream, if I'm not mistaken. Good luck to both players. And Dick Roland is playing a deck which I'm not sure how to pronounce. Chinese? I want to say Chinese characters, but not entirely confident. But what do we have here in Roland's deck? There are a couple of eddies, a couple information exchanges, a couple wild wormholes. Okay, so fair number of duplicates, double hawk, double subtle chain, TMTP, double information exchange officer gray. So a fair bit of archiving. We got double gray, double eddy, Tau memory chip. Oh my. There is the Book of Lek, Book of LEQ, and Navigator Ali shenanigans, so that's really cool. Sultan Laurent, on the other hand, has double Spiral, the Rex, Tribune Pompidus, so some really, really interesting things happening in the Saurian side. Double Infernus, triple Gleeful Mayhem. Okay, 2 Kirby's on the Star Alliance side. I don't see a ton or any artifact control. So that Book of LEQ, Book of Lek, I'm not sure, will be able to do some damage if it lines up with Navigator Ali and goes unchecked. So let's see what happens. Ready indeed. Good luck to both. Getting sloppy in the afternoon. Welcome, Quick Draw. And apologies to folks on the chat. Appreciate y'all being here. Going to be having a little bit of a stream delay just to make sure that no one questions our ethics in the laboratory, as it were. But here we are, and I'm hoping that both players have made hands not visible. I prefer the suspense. Yep, so no hands visible. We're going to be in the dark, figuring things out as we go along. Oh no, stream title did not come through correctly. So that's unfortunate. Looks like I have the correct stream information set up in OBS, but maybe it hasn't filtered through over to Twitch. I'll have to head on that way. Thanks for the heads up there, Murph. And welcome, Zach. Good to have you in here. Okay, both players. I'm going to head over to Twitch too. Yeah, definitely Chinese. Definitely Chinese on the Dick Roland's deck there. Not one I think I've seen before. Well, I'm going to have to check on the stream title after the fact, but apologies if it still says bottom of the beaker. That is a sloppy oversight. Okay, folks looking at their opening hand. We've got Dick Roland on the play. I have a hard time telling between simplified and traditional as well. I'm good with Korean versus Chinese. I actually did try to learn Korean at one point. It was hard. It was hard for me. Okay, tough decisions right off the bat. Folks possibly considering what to commit to the board and what not. So Dick Roland also has some interesting decisions. They have the double hawk, but also the majority of artifacts. So we'll see if those hawks get spent before any of spirals come down from JDG, or if there's a bit of a standoff between who's going to commit artifacts to the board to prevent hawk value. Okay, so possibly some connection issues from our players here. Or a streamer, that's also a possibility. Okay, no mulligan from either player. Dick Roland does not forge a key. It is customary on the first turn of the game not to forge a key, but you never know. You never know. So star lines to kick things off. Good to go. Info officer gray coming down to get that archive train rolling. I think we're going to see some very healthily sized archives from Dick Roland in this game. And JDG dropping Helmsman Spears, Light of the Archons, and Kirby's Blaster on Spears. And that is a threat already. We'll see if the good Dick Roland has found an answer to deal with that Spears. Funnily enough, the Quintrino Flux would kill Gray as well, so that is the perfect power to pass with. Dr. Driscoll, Medic Ingram, Navigator Ollie right off the bat here. Okay, and a formidable Star Alliance board shaping up for Dick Roland, and JDG is going to have the option to reap or fight with that Spears. And with the 2 armor, 4 power, fighting is not a terrible option either. And notably too, we should say that Dick Roland has an info exchange in archives, and they also have a chain gang. So chain gang and, let's see, did I get that right? Info exchange was revealed second, and chain gang second. So you'll love to time that info exchange for steel, possibly after the E on the fringes comes down, or that chain gang once you've got your subtle chains ready to go. So rather than using Helmsman, we are going into Saurian. We have a Thero Centaurian. Imperium's going to ward both the Dino and Spears, giving it a little bit more staying power. And Favor of Rex is going to take advantage of the Information Officer Gray's playability. Very nice. JDG also putting one in archives, and it is the Harbinger of Doom. Doom impending. Doom impending, indeed. Okay, and already here we have the Book of Lek. Book of Lek. Book of Lek making googly eyes at Navigator Ollie over there. Will Navigator Ollie stick around? You have to wonder now if Dick Roland is going to be using that ward, which we will likely see from the medic to protect Ali, protect the medic, or protect something else. Information Officer Gray gets a reap. Now we already have a Shadows and Logos card in Archives for Dick Roland, and here we get the TMTP. So 2 Shadows cards and a Logos card in Archives. So I think I may have misspoken before. Quick Draw asking if the winner here goes to the Gold League. I'm going to have to double check on the specifics of that. JDG was informing me before the match here that it's not actually a gold playoff. It's a playoff for an KFPL spot. I keep tripping over KFPL versus NKFL. Both Keyforge leagues, of course. One for the Premier League and one for the Nordic Keyforge League. So this is a Nordic Keyforge League game for a Keyforge Premier League spot. But I think there's also a space in the Gold League available, if I'm not mistaken, for some number of winners of these playoff games. Okay, and back to JDG. Dick Roland using their board on that pass turn, not committing much else to it other than the book. We did see the Navigator Ali get the ward, and JDG going into the tank a little bit here. So on board, they don't have a great way to deal with that Ali. Spears could fight and then shoot it for 2. That's not going to be quite enough. Now, there might be a red alert. We might see Gleeful Mayhem. Multiple Gleeful Mayhems. Could be interesting. Especially if the Harbinger comes out to play. And JDG does take their archives, plays Gleeful Mayhem on that freshly minted Harbinger of Doom to clear the board, save from 2 of the warded Starline's creatures. So no thank you to Book of Lek and Navigator Ali shenanigans. Still thinking. We may see an Infernus, and we do. Here is an Infernus. Whether to get some of those Starline's critters or your own for value, and JDG takes some of their own pips from their discard pile, so Favor of Rex and Gleeful Mayhem will not be making the return trip around after shuffle. I'm not sure if welcome Tickle the Brain. It's a great question. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Book of Lek or Book of Leq. I say Book of Lek. Actually, in my brain, I probably say Book of Leq. But I think probably Book of Leq. Oh, Book of Leq. Interesting. I've watched a Klingon reference. Is that right? Interesting, Murph. I dig it. I could definitely see it. I want to say that Picard also got dubbed Locutus at one point or no. Okay, so big key costs with that Eddie and a healthy archive from Dick Roland. JDG going into Star Alliance, possibly. Oh my, and this here, Helmsman Spears keeps growing. And now is sitting next to Operations Officer Ishii, going to be capturing with those reaps in addition to the efficiency boost. Quadricorder, my goodness, tripping over my tongue today. Also bumping up Helmsman's stats thanks to the Light of the Archons. Okay, and apologies, folks. Going to find a better spot for that to not cover up. Our highlighted cards. Going to bump up the size here a little bit. Let me know if it's still too small for folks can see all right. Okay, so Helmsman Spears gets to do a big reap. 4 draws for JDG. Picking off some creatures. I'm sorry, fights Eddie. Doesn't even feel it through the armor. No big deal. We get a capture. JDG gets to rearrange their battle line, putting Infernus on a flank. Okay, and you always have to look for the blanking on the card. Blanking on the card that shuffles flank creatures, but y'all know what I mean. Chimera Eclipse. Goodness, couldn't reach for that card name. No, that's a lowercase L. And apologies if I'm like 2 minutes behind the chat. I am streaming the delay, but yeah, Book of Lek with a lowercase L in the front. And let's see if I can paste it on in here. Book of Lek. So, and send that all to uppercase. And yeah, you can see indeed Book of Lek. Very fun. Okay. This info gray getting tons of value. Rigged lottery, so lots of shadows cards joining that info exchange in Dick Roland's archives. 6 already. Quintrino Flux comes down, clears the board. My goodness. Leaving just Hapsis and Yancey Gang. And Dick Roland passes the turn. JDG will make the first key, unless I've missed something. And look at that. JDG making a red key, as you certainly should. And then Gleeful Mayhem picking off the rest of the board, leaving a Dendrix to follow. Dick Roland going to Logos. There's the memory chip. Hawk destroying the memory chip, certainly not taking the book. And we have a close game, though. Dick Roland with that ominous archives looming. There's no data forge. That's always the thing you have to worry about with those large archives looming. But certainly Dick Roland is threatening for a very, very nasty Shadows turn, or just an incredibly efficient remainder of their deck. Now, if they were archiving Star Alliance, you'd worry about Book of LEQ, Book of Lek becoming super, or LEQ, excuse me, becoming super potent. But even with the Shadows going, it's going to get slightly worse, though with Ali you'll be able to flip between Star Alliance and Logos fairly reliably. So there's another gray, buffing archives 2/7. JG going back into Dis. Will we see another Gleeful Mayhem? How many have we seen so far? 2 Gleeful Mayhems. So playing the Infernus, taking advantage of Dick Roland's full discard pile before they reshuffle, and very likely wanting to use that third Gleeful Mayhem on their own Infernus rather than Dendrix, so that they can reshuffle it. Hey, welcome, Feld. Welcome, not tonight. Good to see y'all in the chat. Weird flex, but okay. No flex. Just being helpful. Right tool for the job, you know? Okay, there is the... Oh, I'm not even going to say it. The creature on the fringes. You know, part of me kind of wonders if this creature was printed just to help us pronounce dis correctly. Because, you know, there's the dis camp, there's the dis camp. Both staunch advocates of their own way of pronouncing the house. And I almost wonder if this body of text exists so that we know that we're supposed to pronounce dis differently than the dis and discard. So them subtly telling us to call it dis. I don't know. I'm in the dis camp. I'm in dis camp. And also, I don't know. Dis just doesn't roll off the tongue for me. So going with dis, going with E on the fringes. That's just where I'm at. Sorry, folks. But anyway, back to the game. Here we are. Still 1 key and 3 and 4 amber apiece. Turn 8 here. Dick Roland goes into shadows. They take their archives. Very impressive. Hawk comes down to clear the golden spiral. So they are going to use up this batch of shadows and then reshuffle them all immediately. So interesting to see the rigged lottery coming down at this moment when Dick Roland will not be gaining any value from it. Though certainly there was no 3 mayhems. 1 is purged. 1 is purged. There is the other mayhem. Very good. Quick draw. Very correct. As it were, as opposed to the other times when you are correct, but, you know, not very correct. I don't know if there's such a thing. Yeah. Oof. That was brutal. That was brutal. The double chain king with the rolling subtle chains, leaving JDG with a crippled hand and no amber, and Dick Roland sitting at 14. That was quite a burst, and we'll see what JDG has to respond. Have we seen the Evil Eye? That would be an awfully nice card to play here. We have. So some fights to clear the board here, getting rid of those chain games, playing Not Finished With You always. Always nice to play Not Finished With You when your draw pile is empty. So JDG certain to draw at least 3 cards. And they shuffle back Raider Golem, and Thero Centaurian. So setting themselves up here to survive the next turn with those Raider Golems. Will it be enough to turn the tide? Dick Roland is in a commanding position here, getting ready to choose a house, having just reshuffled their deck. Plays a daughter, steals with information exchange, and passes the turn, drawing back up to 7. Yep, no surprise here. JDG going into Saurian. We'll see at least 1 of the Raider Golems in Thero. And I guess JDG will have to decide whether they want to commit the other Raider Golem to the board. Okay, Tricerian Legionary protecting it. Very good. Award for 1, award and taunt for 1, and a taunt protection for the other. And our spiral coming back down. So JDG on board, able to get 2 reaps and then a 3rd reap, so 3 reaps from the Raider Golems. Potentially driving the keys cost up to +9, and then a fight from Thero Centaurian. So that means what? Dick Roland has to get at least to 16 to guarantee a key through what's on board. And Dick Roland into Star Alliance, and now Logos with another subtle chain. Okay, so sitting at 11 amber, JDG is able to prevent the ski in Saurian. We're going to be locked into this house in short order. I don't know if there's a scaling amber control option. I think we're kind of hoping to keep Dick Roland off this key with just the Saurian creatures on board. Quadricorder coming down now. Missed as well that. This is probably the Dick Roland's quadricorder. Yeah, interesting. Ouch chains indeed. JDG fighting, trying to keep Dick Roland's amber generation potential to a manageable rate while they climb for keys themselves. And great choice for that quadricoder from Dick Roland. This Raider Golem is a lifeline for JDG in the matchup and will also be a speed bump as they try to make their second and third keys here. JDG spreading that extra amber out a little bit. Not needing a double reap from either of the golems. Dick Roland back into Star Alliance. Takes their archives. An 8-card hand here. Dr. Driscoll heals damage for 2. Doesn't tell me. Heal and Furnace for 2. Yep. Another Hawk for Golden Spiral. Played off of the Kirby. And now a Quintrino Flux. Oof. Sending Dick Roland to 18. And unfortunately for them, their Book of LeQ reveals Star Alliance card, and I say that as much as anything can be unfortunate when you're sitting at such an amber potential or total. But well, what a burst in that Shadows turn from Dick Roland. Very, very nicely done. Well played to both. Yeah, very cool to see what sort of payoffs some of these decks look for from their big archives. We're accustomed to seeing folks building up to their, data forges, or, maybe an E on the fringes. But yeah, that Shadows there was quite potent. Okay, and the players are off to select decks for their next game. So this is an interesting deck, and I apologize, I'm not terribly familiar with Dick Roland's lineup, but we have Double Hawk here, and I have to wonder what Dick Roland's artifact control looks like in their other decks. There are some decks in JDG's lineup that rely heavily on artifacts, and I know that Chandra has not been banned. This is one of my favorite decks from JDG, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see it at some point, unless there's more artifact control heavy decks in Dick Roland's lineup. Chandra being a Quixelstone animator, transporter platform, Amphora Captura deck that does really gnarly things with capturing onto artifacts. Okay, I'm gonna have to tell Moobot to calm down there a little bit. This might be a unprompted. I don't know. Was that an unprompted help thing? I don't know. Okay. While they're setting up their next game, making selections, let's see if we can figure it out. Bum, 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 bum. Ooh, the captain. I think the captain's waiting for your matchup, not tonight. Yeah, Dick Roland's lineup is very sassy. German juggernaut, as it were. I think he's German. Could be wrong. Pretty sure. Sorry if I've misattributed that. But we'll check it out afterwards. Fairly certain. JDG being the Canadian representative of sloppy lab work. Hailing from America's hat, and I do love hats. All right. No decks selected. Possibly players still agonizing over what to play in game 2 here. Both getting down to a point where you start to wonder, do I burn my fire now? Do I try and hold off for a good matchup? Certainly no bad decks in either of these players' lineups, though that doesn't mean there are no bad matchups, and there's a lot of positioning, a lot of room to outmaneuver folks in the selection phase. So, it's entirely capable to steal matchups against better lineups, deck for deck, by making better choices in the selection phase. One of the reasons why I do enjoy this format so much. So hats off to the Nordic folks for a great format here. I think often in Triad, you end up kind of just rolling with your 3 best decks, or at least you need to have an awfully deep collection to be able to really craft a strategy from your not 3 best decks and have it be a respectable Triad lineup. But with Hexad, there's a little bit more room to kind of make a strategy and have it hang together and be able to take wins without while overpowered kind of on an absolute scale. All right, let's see. Deck selected. It is not an enhanced deck. Okay, turned off that game found command. Hopefully it should not show up any longer. Cool. All right, and we're off and away here in game 2. So a Worlds Collide deck from JDG, triple stealth mode. Ooh, very nice. G-Pan, Infinito Che. Pan. We got Pan from JDG, and a very spicy looking AOA deck from Dick Roland. Van Diemen, with a couple Ronnies, a Brand, a couple Cutthroat Researches. Got the Time Traveler package. Oh, ready to go. Good luck to both players. More luck to JDG. All right, and of course in Mars we have a Martian Generosity. We don't have a key abduction. We don't have a hypnotic command, but we do have double Mars first. I don't see a proliferator, which you always worry about. So yeah, that Martian generosity being no less potent, with some really. Wow, I wonder what the efficiency is on this thing. We've got Helper Bot, Time Traveler. Thanks, Murph. Yeah, so indeed from Germany. Oh my gosh, from JDG. Oh, the wrong deck selected. I was gonna say I recognize this as one of JDG's decks, but I don't know if I've seen it. Oops. So I've done this exact thing before, though. We'll be remaking the game here shortly. JDG was likely looking at their opening hand, wondering why it looked a little different than they were expecting. No worries, JDG. The whole stream's laughing at you. That's all you got to know. Yeah, we'll open a new game. We're gonna assume that the correct deck was selected in the deck selector. So new game incoming. Scaremonger is a deck I'm more familiar with as part of this lineup. Capable of making some very big boards, and notably has an automaton reassembling or self-assembling, which can go Voltron to great effect. Okay, nobody liked that first hand anyway. Right, so the reassembling automaton looks really good while wearing Kill-A-Pigeon Ideal. There's something about that automaton that is the ideal, the Kill-A-Pigeon Ideal, as it were. But yeah, goes Voltron, gets exalted, captures Amber. Curious folks in the chat. Are folks asking for those new player guides and such, or is that happening automatically? I might have it set to do set to happen automatically. Yeah, the double Ronnie is working really well with the miasmas here, and the cutthroat researches. So those miasmas can set up some steel 2s coming from a couple different houses. Now, one thing I really like to see, though, I really do enjoy, and is one of my favorite combos in another deck, is Entropic Manipulator and Mars Needs Amber. So Scaremonger does make really big boards. So JDG is going to have to watch out for the Entropic Manipulator that just got burned, but spreading out damage, and then Mars Needs Amber coming down to capture far and wide. Okay, I go for some efficiency. Interesting interaction between the Collector Worm and the Jargoggle. Okay, so JDG opts not to take a Walls. Oh my, so the discard pile filling up with Star Alliance cards. Love having Walls around for picking up those upgrades later on, and Scaremonger does have quite a few. But already JDG going wide in Logos, and Dick Roland now back in Mars. Smashes the Jargoggle with a Theros Centaurian hiding beneath it, bound for the discard. It had such high hopes, and Mars First gets another use out of Collector Worm, and Wormhole Technician gets tucked away in Dick Roland's archives. Another Mars First here, getting a reap from Collector Worm. Mars Needs Amber getting played with the Entropic Manipulator already spent. its value as a pip is well received. Now, we do have JDG sitting here at 5, and if there was one Mars card to hold while at 5, certainly Martian Generosity would be it. Very cool that Collector Worm can fight into Pterodactyl to archive it and survive. 4 damage coming in from the Pterodactyl, not overcoming Collector Worm's armor. Okay, so Dick Roland going into shadows here. We see a Yancey gang come down, whistling darts spreading damage around. Yeah, the sort of thing you would have really hated to see with that Mars Needs Amber not having been played. And Ronnie to steal 1 with Dick Roland going to 6. And our first check of game 2. Okay, going to adjust this a little bit here. And make this a little bit bigger. Hopefully that comes through all right. Always looking for kind of an optimal spot. We do have some artifacts from both players, so I'm going to try my best not to cover them up. JDG playing Odoak. Had enough of those Ronnie steals. And Thero Centaurian fighting down Yancey gang, which would have been able to fight through Odoak. Yeah, got to agree that Collector Worm is really spooky. None of these dinos are safe. Okay, Logos from Dick Roland, Library Babel, Remote Access, and Research Smoko. Just kind of burning through cards. Still 2 in archives, down to 18 left in the deck. We still haven't seen a ton of Logos or Shadows. Okay, and that Maverick Harbinger of Doom getting discarded. Universal Translator coming down on Kirby. And a discarded Red Alert. Okay, so played the Kirby. Okay, so we didn't see an off-house play from the Kirby there. That's unfortunate. Even with a couple draws, thanks to the blaster. And Dick Roland going back into Logos. A fight into Kirby. Is there a poke? That's the question. There is a poke. Will we see the poke? Almost surely. Time Traveler drawing 2. Okay, there's the poke for Kirby. Sending Dick Roland now to 7. Cutthroat Research brings them to 8. And Standardized Testing, wiping the board, save those 2 dinos. Dick Roland heading up to 9. Says, oh sweet. Perhaps unexpected. Yeah, sometimes you never know what standardized testing is going to hit. You just kind of running out there, and you're like, all right, that's great. Okay, so Dick Roland passing at 9. JDG going into Logos. They've had to discard the info exchange, so we weren't going to see that. And Dick Roland getting to Forge for 6 here. Sitting at 3 Amber. Still yet to see that Martian Generosity. We've seen a decent number of the pips in Mars, though. Let's see. What are we still... So we got the 2 Mars first. Mars Needs Amber, Entropic Manipulator. We haven't seen the Mothership Support. And the Flotsam Spike. Oof. So that standardized testing on the previous turn really setting up a Flotsam Spike. Interesting, though, that they discarded the Dominator, rather than playing it after the Flotsam spike. I wonder. A suspicious play. A suspicious play. Very likely wanting to not gum up the standardized testings. Is there another Flotsam aligned card here? I don't see one. Okay, JDG going into Star Alliance. I have to make this a little bit smaller so I can see the full Archon card. Okay, so no other Flotsam. No carpet Flotsam. Stealth mode coming from JDG. No actions, they say. This was likely not a turn for the Martian Generosity, though you never know. Dick Roland still holding one Ronnie. Still holding one Ronnie. Miasma's not going to stop a forge here, so they may have to commit that Ronnie. We haven't seen either Miasma yet. Merkins still to come too. Never know what's going to happen with the Merkins. Okay, so Medicing is played. Some interesting targets here. Reasonable choices, at least 3 reasonable choices. Guess depending on how much Star Alliance is left, I'd be inclined to go with those, but if you're not going to be drawing a ton of Star Alliance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, may not be calling Star Alliance again too soon. So the Wormhole Technician is a solid choice there, it seems. And then City-State Interest capturing abroad. Okay, so Ronnie does come down to stop the forge. Nerve Blast is discarded. Miasma is discarded. And JDG now into Saurian. I still don't think we've seen the ideal, Killapigian ideal. Have we? Let me double check. Have we seen Killapigian ideal? Scootum coming down on Kirby. And then a shuffle. I didn't quite get looking through, but I don't think we've seen it yet, so very likely it's just been drawn. Our hand should be 1 Star Alliance card, the Killapigian Ideal, and some mystery cards. Okay, Dick Roland back, able to play actions, and looking at that 4 Amber, 3 in Archives, wondering if now is the time. Is now the time for some generous Martians? Very possibly. Dick Roland thinking, what to put in Archives, or what to pull from Archives, whether to pull. I don't think we have much info. Oh, we do. So Collector Worm. Collector Worm grabbed. What did Collector Worm grab? Jar Goggle. One of the dinos at least. So there might not be value in there. That might be all Collector Worm trophies. Okay, Martian Generosity comes down, sending Dick Roland to 15 cards in hand. Sky Booster Squadron. Let's see if they manage to find. Okay, there's the Entropic Manipulator, so we'll probably see that get spread out in preparation for Mars Needs Amber. 2, 1 damage on each of the Star Alliance creatures. Destroy them all, taking one of them out without Entropic Manipulator. Mars Needs Amber. Interesting. So probably would have left a damage on one of the other creatures then. but we'll see. Destroy them all, taking out Scudum, the Spiral, and the Medic. Okay, JDG going into Logos. There's a fun trick here too with the Automaton. If you need to recenter Zenzi, fight it into something that can send it to the other flank. If you need to take one off a flank and add one to the other. So actually right now is a situation where, pending no other creatures get played, JDG could fight the Automaton into either of these Martians to get Zenzi in the middle of the battle line. Whether or not they value that over a Reap is another question. Okay, so we do indeed see them do that. Fighting into Sky Booster. I may have fought into the Beam Buckler, but they're able to finish it off. Very good. Of course, the Sky Booster Squadron's not likely to stick around if you pass the turn and they get to call Mars, resetting its damage, but Thorium Plasmate does the trick for the remaining damage. I think it would do the same for Buckler, but likely wanting to get rid of that squadron. Okay, so Dick Roland plays the Cutthroat Research, no steals. Plays a Yancey Gang. Off of Wild Wormhole. Library Babble draws a card, as if they had not enough cards already. You can never have too many. And now Help from Future Self is going to grab that Time Traveler for even more cards while shuffling their discard pile back in. Helperbot comes down. How about a Martian Generosity? Oh, no? Okay, special delivery for another Amber. And now Destroy Them All getting played off of Wild Wormhole. Takes out Zenzi, takes out the Golden Spiral, and then a Brain Eater for good measure. Okay, so Dick Roland going wide here. And JDG going to Star Alliance. We might see a red alert. Now let's see. JDG with 4 creatures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So red alert looks like 3 damage to all at the moment. Is it worth it to fight your Kirby into a losing battle? Probably not. You're going to get to Reap here and send 2 damage, perhaps to the Yancey Gang or the Beam Buckler. JDG could have also considered damaging their own daughter with the blaster, with their hand so large, but we'll see. Apologies for the squeaky chair. They don't really give us great stipends for these things in the Sloppy Lab. You know, we kind of work with what we got. And love seeing a warded creature and the Automaton on flanks to soak up special delivery. Of course, that can't last forever, and here comes Walls. Let's see if Walls is able to grab an upgrade. Will it be the Scudum? The Scudum? The Scudum? Do y'all say Scudum or Scudum? Discarding Harbinger of Doom. Kirby Reaps. Will we see the Scudum come down? Two damage to finish off the Yancey Gang thanks to the Blaster. Thanks, Blaster. Okay, Wormhole Technician Reaps thanks to Universal Translator and tucks a Kirby, Comm Officer Kirby, into Archives. So there's another Kirby waiting in the wings. I believe that has used up our off-house plays, so we're not going to see the Scudum this turn. Though we have an awful lot of Star Alliance and Logos accounted for between discard and board for JDG, as well as some of the cards that were given back when Dick Roland pulled Archives. I have to imagine that JDG has a pretty substantial grip of dinos. Okay, and I may have missed an off-house play. But we do see the Calipigian Ideal coming down on Reassembling Automaton. Really, really love seeing that there. Okay, so Shadows, expecting a Miasma, but Sucker Punch first to take down Kirby. Very sad. Let's see, Special Delivery. And notable that the Reassembling Automaton ability replaces this destruction, so Special Delivery would not purge it. Though it will do a fine job of purging Brend. Merkins, we were waiting for this, Merkins. Do you take that archived card? That's the question. You have stolen 3 already, excuse me. Now this does still leave JDG at check. They do want the Kirby, and very nice that they have no Star Alliance cards to gum up their hand, so that Kirby is effectively a play any off house card. And check from Dick Roland at 11, and they did play Miasma. So this sneaky check with Calipigian Ideal is not going to make good on a key. Murph saying Scootum. Scootum. I like Scootum. Scootum. I could get behind that. I think I've always said Scootum, and then some folks have said Scutum. But Scootum just sounds better, doesn't it? Okay, Igor coming down. Do we have options in Logos to stop this forge? We do. They are going to be very tricky, though. We're hoping to see that Jar Goggle tuck something like a City State and then get smashed with a Positron Bolt. So let's see if that's something we're able to set up here. Wormhole Technician. We're really looking for that Jar Goggle. Here's a Jar Goggle. Do you have the City State to put underneath it? What else can we take off? Dick Roland at 9-4 here. Don't see anything else that will do it. Garcia will not do the trick. Okay, so not able to kill that Jar Goggle and potentially play Saving Grace. But what a game. Gnarly decks from both players here. That Martian Generosity hitting really hard, and Dick Roland very savvily sitting on their Special Delivery. It was meant for that Brend. We weren't going to give it to anyone else. So very nice. Very nice game. And 2 games to Dick Roland in this series. So typically in the NKFL, of course you do want to win each match, but we're counting games toward an eventual total game score across the entire season. So, even if you've lost the first 2 games in a match, that game 3 does mean a lot and can often make a big difference in the final standings. I'm not certain how these things are counted in this playoff here, whether there is sort of a round-robin playoff structure, and then we're going to look at matches, or if it's more of a bracket, typical bracket. Okay, new player guide. You've new player guided your last new player guide. Need to figure out why that's happening automatically. So I'm going to disable it for the moment. Aha. Ordovas also in the Scootum camp. Alright, our Scootums increase. I like it. And let's see if I missed JDG. Don't think so. Okay, here we are. Going into game 3 of this series. Yeah, 2 excellent games so far. really strong decks, really strong players. Doesn't get much better. Except when the sloppy lap workers are winning, of course, but you can't have it all. Okay, decks have been selected. Dick Roland playing something that is enhanced. Would love to see TCO have the deck selection step not leak that information. I wonder if that would be a welcomed change or not. JDG here also playing an enhanced deck that they have sloppily not gotten verified. Okay, Daniela Sombra Azarada. I don't know this deck. From JDG. Interesting. So Sombra getting played. I have to imagine that there were answers to Chandra in here. Would have loved to see Chandra. But now I should double check and make sure it was not a banned deck, and I have had my hopes up. Perhaps not. Okay, so off to the races here. An Amber Pip enhanced subject Kirby coming down from Dick Roland, playing that Infomorph, back into Logos, autoencoder on the board already, and Dick Roland using that Infomorph to fight off Bot Bookton. JDG saying, hey, have a bigger Kirby before I shuffle it away. Okay, very nice. And we see one Lethologica getting played for half of an Ultra Gravitron. Always interesting to see whether folks discard that first third of a gigantic that they get or not. Okay. Some archives being generated here from Dick Roland. Discarding Citizen Shrix, very interesting. Playing Beware the Ides, but discarding Citizen Shrix. Okay, so drop hip on board the Ides. Beware the Ides too, very interesting. And now we have an Infernus from JDG. Knocking down some of that amber, taking some pips and efficiency away from Dick Roland's next shuffle. And passing the turn with both a Dark Minion and Infernus on board. Dick Roland going into Star Alliance, discarding some cards. Mutagenic Researcher getting discarded, but the Secure Droid getting played. Okay, we wanted something to hold those upgrades, and those upgrades are spicy indeed. So a Drop Pip and Counter Soup and a Blasting Shield that's been enhanced with damage. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so there is a Nell lurking in this deck. Interesting to see those upgrades coming out in advance. All right, and JDG sneaking that first key in with a squishy key frog. Yeah, those key frogs, interestingly enough, the chocolate frogs from Harry Potter Land. Little did you know there were keys inside. And a Fangtooth Cavern. The Fangtooth Cavern will be interesting to see what the impact that has going forward. I love Cavern with Frog. What a great interaction. And then create some really cool decision points here, especially with stuff like Cronus, where there's such high value. But with Fangtooth Cavern on board, you're very unlikely to get more than a turn of use out of it. And with autoencoder out, just whether or not that card is better to be played, better as a discard, is a great question. So Implosion getting played. On play, warding the Secura droid. Blowing up Pismire. Okay. Blowing up Pismire and the Cronus. Taking off the ward. Taking off the ward? I missed something there. There was an Soulkeeper. Soulkeeper on the Pismire. Is that right? But that allows the Fangtooth Cavern to take care of that Voltron, which was amassing upgrades. So 1 key apiece, no amber, for Dick Roland, 3 for JDG. Dick Roland with an archive count of 8. And you have to wonder who's keeping track of that Dysania stock, because I want to buy some. It has just been brutal in every matchup where I've seen it. I've gone out of my way just to ban the Dysania decks. So yeah, I don't know. Set up that double Dysania DOK alert and scoop them up now. Sell them at a premium. Okay, Dick Roland going to 14 cards in hand. Taking those healthy archives. Fission Bloom. Oof. Turns this Eclectic Inquiry into a 4 amber double draw monstrosity. What a card. Causal Loop. Likely drawn off of that Fission Bloom enhanced Eclectic Inquiry. Otherwise we would have seen it first while there were no creatures on board. Incoming, it's coming, it's played. JDG finds their autoencoder and the Graventron. Unlikely to venture into the cavern anytime soon. Okay, artifacts coming out. Both the autoencoder and the autovac online. I love to see it. Now JDG with 6 archived cards of their own. No draw pile. So we would, an enterprising tryhard would know all the cards that JDG has access to. Okay, there's the Nell. There's the Nell. What do we have from upgrades among this 13 card hand? And my goodness, I am very curious what the enhancement status of this deck is. Sassy indeed. Holy smokes. Okay, we'll have to send that to the lab for some research a little later. So, Universal Translator coming down on the Nell. Secure Droid, making that a taunting Nell. Taunting indeed. And Kirby allowing a Narrow Taurus to be played. Very cool. We wanted some Quintrino Flux fodder. Taking the Kirby instead of the Narrow Taurus. Interesting. Narrow Taurus being of higher power than the Nell. I may have been tempted to leave the Kirby along to protect the Nell. In this scenario, it almost seems like Roland prefers keeping the Narrow Taurus around, which may be correct. I don't know their deck well enough to say whether its ability is more potent than Nell's. Perhaps we've kind of exhausted the value from Nell. And certainly Kirby was not going to survive the cavern one way or the other. So perhaps Nell is just better insurance for the Narrow Taurus than we would have otherwise had. Okay, Autovac does a thing. Conditionally do something. Indeed it did. We're assuming that something was discard a card from archives in order to increase key costs. And sure enough, archive count, I believe, was at 6 before. So Dick Roland going into Saurian, showing the wisdom of keeping that Saurian creature around. And that may have been the long and short of it. They may have just simply not expected to call Star Alliance soon and wanted something to reap. Okay, archives are taken. No fighting. JDG says Nero Taurus. Curse of Vanity. Putting an amber down. There's the M4 Captura. Lots of amber piling up on this Nero Taurus. And here we are looking for an exile, looking for Ludo would do the trick to crush that amber, as would dinos are coming, as would a 6 Emperor, none of which are here, but certainly Nero Taurus, the amber can be gotten rid of with Ludo on board. I would have almost been tempted to shuffle that Nero Taurus toward the center of the battle line for Beware the Ides while Perfector Ludus is in play. But we'll see. So back into Logos here. Very likely JDG will be... okay, +3 key cost from the key lock. Another +3? No, just an archive. Another +3, I'm guessing. Paying 12 amber. Oof, yeah. Thanks to that key lock and autovac. So interesting that the key cost is now, of course, 9 now because the key lock has been destroyed. So it was briefly at 12 while the autovac and key lock were in effect. Yeah, not tonight. Watch out for both of these monsters. Okay, countersuit coming down on Perfectus Ludo. A very solid choice. Blast shielding as well. Blast shielding and particle sweep. Where is that capture coming from? The M4 Captura. Okay, so all these enhancements turning into capture pips thanks to that M4 Captura. Let's see. Lost in the Woods would do nicely here. Let's see if that is something JDG has in store for us. Dark Harbinger getting played first. It would ready when Lost in the Woods is played, though not to great effect unless we have a couple other creatures to go with it. Having a bit of a think. Sequencing, certainly important. So let's see, what of the mutations? Cunning, Cunning, and Fury. I think one of those is the skirmishy one. No, Elusive. And this is the Assault 3 one. Okay. So there's not a skirmishy mutation, but we do have growth surges, we do have rapid evolution, we do have Song of the Wild. So there's potentially quite some burst power coming here from the Harbinger. Yeah, Song of the Wild. Any number of these actions would be incredibly potent, and then a Key Frog to finish. Possibly even after Faust had been shuffled away, would put JDG back in the driver's seat over this game, catapulting ahead. So first, Growth Surge, Ready's Harbinger, we get a reap. So not likely to see Song of the Wild. Unfortunate, but there you have it. Okay, Faust gets fought down. Now Mutation of Fury. Ludo gets fought. Mutation of Cunning. This Dark Harbinger saying, no thank you. No thank you to the Fangtooth Cavern. Okay. And just like that, Dick Roland's board has been consumed, if not by the Harbinger, then the Fangtooth Cavern itself. And we have JDG sitting at 14, Dick Roland at 3. And we'll see if this Amphora Captura can captura enough amber in order to prevent a forge here, or the one on the following turn. We have yet to see that, I'm going to call it the Eclectic Inquiry of Doom. Well, it's been enhanced twice enhanced, but good for 4 amber and 2 draws. Okay, Fission Bloom gets used. There it is. 4 more amber, 2 draws, 2 archives thanks to Cronus. My goodness. What nonsense. Now Lithologica to take Dimension Door into hand. Okay, they may not be reaping this turn, but that is interesting. Likely going to be autoencoder fodder, and it is indeed, as is an Infomorph and a Causal Loop. Play the Sloppy Lab work. Oh, that's so nice of you. Even on empty hand, play that Sloppy Lab work for an amber. JDG getting a forge, and that 1 amber from the Sloppy Lab work, our namesake card, sending Dick Roland asking Keyfrog ? Sending them at 9, which is just out of autovac range. JDG going to discarding a dark minion. Let's see what our options are here. Okay, there's the Infernus. Looking at you, Eclectic Inquiry of Doom. Double Infernus. Lots of very juicy pips being purged here. Purges Sloppy Labwork, Subject Kirby, Eclectic Inquiry, and Lethologica. Discarding Gabos Longarms. Two cards in hand. Do they have more? They're going to collect 3 from the Cronus at the end of the turn here. Discarding Soulkeeper for the Amber rather than discarding Soulkeeper for an Archive rather than playing it for an Amber. Very likely digging for a Keyfrog. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier to forge at the end of their turn rather than at the start of one of their turns, thanks to that M4 Captura. So Dick Roland starting their turn at 4 amber here with 8 in archives. Wondering if they can threaten while also taking JDG off of check. And notable too that we don't yet have seen the Lost in the Woods from JDG on this turnaround. So even a big capture doesn't necessarily take the bite out of a Keyfrog. Dick Roland having a think here, really admiring my new avatar. Dick Roland making a prediction. Win through Keyfrog, smiley face, wink. So have to assume that they are going to take JDG off of check. And let's see if their prediction proves right. But first they have to stop this check. 14 cards in hand. Chances are decent one of them is the null, and some number of the others are upgrades. So Quintrino Flux putting the Infernuses into the bin. There's a secure droid. Particle Sweep is going to turn its... no, it's not. Excuse me. Particle Sweep is just going to gain an amber and then capture one and draw. Draw. Okay, so just that damage pip converted to capture. That brings JDG to 7. Plays Survey. Gains an amber, going to check. Taking a look at what's coming up. And draws a card. Okay. Discards Red Alert. Plays the Mutagenic Researcher. Okay. Some Fangtooth fodder to buffer the secure droid. Discards another secure droid. There must be some more pips coming for capture potential. Blast Shielding. Okay, there's at least one damage pip that's going to capture instead. And indeed, both of those pips on the Blasting Shield are converted to capture, leaving JDG at 5. JDG snaps into Untamed, takes their archives, plays the Pismire, plays a Mutation of Cunning and a Rapid Evolution, and a Key Frog. And Dick Roland's prediction. Dick Roland's prediction borne out here in fact. Yeah, well played both. So yeah, very exciting series. What decks from both of these players. Excellent play from both. Really enjoyed watching. And yeah, JDG saying congrats, and from all of us here as well. So congrats on the KFPL spot then. NKFL. No. Yes, KFPL. Tripping myself up. Dick Roland heading to bed. Yeah, it's pretty late. Pretty late indeed for the German juggernaut. Sweet dreams. Congratulations. Thanks to all for tuning in to watch. Fun match. Great competition from these two. Great season and a good ending. Glad we were able to catch it. So we'll see both of these players, I believe, in gold. And my oh my, there will be some spicy competition indeed. So yeah, we'll look forward to that. And good night, good afternoon, good evening, good day, good game to our folks on the stream. Thanks for tuning in.